but we are back to English for specific purposes. If you have come before, welcome back. If it is your first time with us, welcome. Before we start, I will explain to you a little bit about how this works, okay? For those who've been here before, you know the drill. This just takes about 5-10 minutes. My name is Ariella Knight. I will be your teacher this evening. Professionally, I am the founder and CEO of the American Institute. We are an English school and a cultural center based in Algiers with online classes as well. And my background is as a program manager, a business consultant, and an English teacher. As a teacher, I specialize in business English and English for specific purposes, professional trainings, and academic support. I am American, in case you could not tell. I am from Boston, Massachusetts. I've also lived in the southwestern part of the United States in Colorado and Washington, D.C. before I moved to Algiers, where I currently live. I moved to Algiers in 2018, so I have been here almost 4 years. Crazy. For those who've heard the introduction before, I try to change it a little bit each time so that it's interesting. And for those who it's your first time, hopefully I didn't go too fast. So that's about me. Now let's talk about the class. The ESP classes. So ESP stands for English for Specific Purposes. This is a class that we offer for free every Tuesday night from 6:30 to 8 p.m. We have spots for people to join us in the class, and we also will be recording this and posting it to YouTube for people to view it afterwards. Because there's 10 weeks, we have 10 sessions. And here is the list of those sessions. So we are actually getting close to the end. This is week 7. So we've already done 2 weeks of English for tourism. We've done 2 weeks for medical English, one focused on health and medicine, one focused on mental health, one for media, and one for social media. And today we're doing English for humor, everything about comedy, jokes, stand up, and I'm really excited for this one. I love watching comedy, so I'm excited to have a good time. You'll see that we have 3 weeks left. We have next week English for cooking, then we have English for beauty, and last, and actually we're going to talk about this today, we have what we call a topic TBD. So TBD means to be decided, and we left this class open so that you guys can help us decide what to teach. So I want to take a poll here today to get your feedback. It might not be the feedback you give today. We're also going to do another poll probably on the Embassy Instagram. So we'll combine the results, but you can have a voice in what we teach for our 10th class. So here is the poll. We have 4 options for you. It should show up on your screen. The question is, what should our last ESP class focus on? We have English for music, English for film, business English for negotiations. We put the word business before because it's the only one that would be considered a business English class. English for sports is the 4th one. So take a minute, think about what you're most interested in hearing about. And once the majority or so have voted, I'll share the results. I'm really curious to see which ones you guys pick. I think you guys, yes, Sam shared with you the link to the YouTube channel, which is great. And we also will email everyone afterwards with the link as well. I see someone, Shahanaz, looking for the English for media. We've had a little issue with this recording, but inshallah, it will be online soon. Thank you for your patience. Someone says English for music is about writing poems. English for music will be about the music industry. It will be about specific words related to writing music, to reading music, and to performing music. And for us fans of music as well. Okay, I think that's everything, you guys. Let's say 3 more seconds. Someone says it's hard to pick, they're all good. Thank you very much, Waleed. I also think they're all good, and I have my favorite. But I'll see what your guys is. Let's call an end to the vote. Okay, and I will share the results with you. We have a clear winner. Can you see the results? I think you should be able to see them. So English for music, 8%. English for film, 24%. Business English for negotiations, 59%. You guys really want business English. And then English for sports, 8%. My favorite, I think, was English for music, which apparently was not your favorite. But also, I'm a native speaker, so my priorities are more the sort of hobbies, things I like or enjoy in my free time, which includes music. Business English remains one of our most popular classes and one of our classes in the most demand. So I'm not surprised at all that you guys want some business English class. So I'm happy to see this. We are going to, as I mentioned, put this poll probably on Instagram as well. So feel free to vote again if you want to try to keep your class at the top, but this will be something we'll factor into our final decision. All right, thank you very much. All right, let me close this and we'll start the class. So thank you for participating in the poll. Just so you remember, this is for our 10th class. This is our class outline. We're choosing what the very last English class should be. Okay, some details about the class before we get into English for humor. This is a B2 level class. B2 is advanced intermediate. At times, if you are not a B2, you may feel like I'm speaking too fast or the vocabulary is something you don't understand. You are welcome to join us if you don't have the level, but I want you to be prepared. It may be slightly challenging for you. I recommend in that case that you plan to re-watch the session afterwards on YouTube. This is how ESP classes run. Every week we have a different topic, which you saw. Classes are a combination of specialized vocabulary. In fact, ESP almost always is specialized vocabulary focused. However, some classes also will have a skill development if there's a specific skill that relates to that industry. And a lot of classes have guest interviews. At specific points, I will ask you questions and give you the chance to answer either in the chat, like we've been doing, talking through, writing in the chat, or sharing on mic. So those of you who are interested in sharing on the microphone, get ready because we have a lot of questions tonight that you can join us on microphone. How to use the chat. So I think you already are using the chat, or you're at least seeing how others are using the chat. It's perfect. You can respond to the exercises. You can ask questions related to the topic. You can encourage each other, motivate each other with nice messages. Perfect. I might not see everything. I'm not always staring at the chat, but I try to keep an eye on it. We also have a Q&A button on Zoom. This I do not use as much. If you have a question, I recommend in the chat. You can put it in both places, and if I look in the Q&A, I'll see it, but I'm not as often in there. 2 questions that we get all the time, so I just started putting the answers right away, is do you have a certificate for this class? No, we do not. This is not a certificate class, in part because we don't track who attends, but we still hope it is extremely useful for you. And then, is the class recorded? Yes, the class is recorded. You can view it on YouTube. You can view it on the American Institute YouTube or on the US Embassy YouTube, okay? We're posting on both of the channels. We have some class rules. What is a good class without a few rules? Number 1, have respect and have civility when you're speaking with people in the chat or when you're on the microphone, okay? Remember that even though this is virtual, we're in a classroom environment. Be nice and be kind, because why not? No profanity and no discussion of irrelevant topics. Also, do not send links. These are the things that will get you blocked. I have my wonderful co-host Sam, who is monitoring, and if people start to comment on things that are not academic, unfortunately, you will be removed from the class. Please use this hour and a half with us to dedicate yourself to expanding your English and focusing on your educational goals. If you want to chat about other things, there's 22 and a half other hours in the day for that. And lastly, please help us create a fun and positive learning environment by being positive, by engaging, by bringing your best. This so far has worked. We've had great classes, and I'm sure tonight is no exception. Are we all good? Are we ready to start? Any questions? Hello to everyone who just started, who just joined us. Okay, very cool. Great. Okay, so I'm sorry, I love the dog on this slide. So today we are doing English for humor, and I'm so excited because I consider myself a very funny person. Whether or not my staff considers me funny or my friends consider me funny is very different, but I consider myself very funny. Okay, so oops. Before we get going, let's do some definitions so that we are all on the same page. What is humor? We're doing a class called English for Humor. What is humor? This is very important if you are coming from a francophone mindset, because it is what we call a false friend. Humor in English and humor in French are not at all the same. So humor we define as the quality of being comical or amusing to provide entertainment. Humor is often found in jokes, in comedy, in pranks, in funny videos and movies, everything that makes us laugh and enjoy life and make life just ultimately more fun. Now we have a hard question for you. I want to see if you guys have answers. And trust me, this is a really hard question. I think native speakers would struggle to answer this as well. But do you guys have any ideas what the difference is between humor and comedy? I know it says join on mic, but actually I'm going to take answers here with writing because I don't want to spend too long on this. So send in the writing. What is the difference between humor and comedy? If you have any ideas, and you can write back and say, I don't know, or there is no difference. But if you have any ideas, I want to see what it is. Okay, Yassine says humor is a way of being and talking. Comedy is like a funny film. Okay. Bilal says we make comedy, but we are born with humor. Interesting. Okay. Intisar says comedy is something that is planned. Asya says comedy is something we create, but humor can be natural. Guys, this is like, I'm impressed with this. This is a high level of answer. Muhammad says humor is a real feeling. I almost immediately read Ikram saying, what's the name of your YouTube channel? Sam can resend the YouTube channel in the chat. Sued says, comedy is like a lie. Interesting. A couple people are admitting, honestly, Ariella, I have no idea. That's fine. Islam says, humor is a quality that every person can have. However, comedy is a specific thing for professional people who work in the industry. So I see people kind of coming to a similar conclusion. One thing is maybe what we call inherent. One thing is maybe practiced. Ines points out that comedy is related to acting. Okay, you guys, I'm seeing all of these. Humor is genuine. Humor is spontaneous. Humor is talking, gestures. Very cool. Comedy is acting. Humor is about jokes. Muhammad makes a good point. If someone is very good or maybe very funny, it's difficult to see the difference. Okay, thank you guys for sending these in. Oh, the last ones I like. Comedy is improvisation. Comedy is art. Okay, interesting. Let's see. So, humor and comedy. So for those of you who said, I do not know the difference, there's a reason why. Because we use the words humor and comedy interchangeably. Interchangeably means we use them the same exact way. But in fact, when you get down into the definition, they have two different definitions. Humor is an innate quality, innate, meaning something you are born with in people's character. It refers to their ability to process and interpret situations as funny and amusing. This is why we say to have a sense of humor. When we call it a sense, it's like we're relating it to that innateness. Innate, which another synonym for innate is inherent, something we are born with. Okay, an innate quality is something we are born with. Humor is something you are born with. Comedy is an art form. It is an act designed to make an audience laugh. Comedy can be studied, learned, and practiced. Okay, so you guys actually really got it. Everyone got it. The people who said, I don't know, you were actually also correct because we use these interchangeably. And then I heard a lot of you talking about how comedy is planned, comedy is studied, comedy is regimented, I want to say, in terms of filmed, produced. Humor is something you just have, that you have, it's spontaneous. Me personally, I think I have a great sense of humor, and at times I can be very comedic as well. I'm just going to spend this whole class complimenting myself. Okay, you guys, I have a second question. It's not on the slide, but before we move into the types of comedy, I want to know what types of comedy you have heard of. Do you know the names of any categories of humor? Waleed says confidence is good for a comedian. Thank you, Waleed. Oh, dark comedy, good. Sarcasm. One man show. Okay, one man show I would say is a type of performance, but maybe not a category. Dark, I accept. Satire, very good, Lydia. Satire. Black comedy, black and dark are synonyms. Ahmed, sarcasm, very good. I see stand-up, good. Stand-up is a type of performance, but you can do a satire stand-up or dark stand-up. So I want the genre of comedy. Sarcasm, dark humor. All right, cool. I thank you for participating. I wanted to see what kinds of comedy you'd heard of. Let's go through. We have a list of different types of comedy, and I hope I'm introducing to you some new words about different types of humor. And look at me, I'm already doing it. I'm using humor and comedy interchangeably. The first one is called slapstick. Has anyone heard the word slapstick before? I'm really curious. Have you heard the word slapstick? Okay, we have one person saying yes, and the majority saying no. Okay, good. Oh, yes, and someone said Charlie Chaplin, which is what we're about to watch. Mr. Bean, very good, Rihan. Okay, so it looks like a few of you have heard the phrase, but most of you, it's a new phrase, which is what I'm here for, to teach some new words. So slapstick comedy is a physical kind of humor characterized by exaggerated or wild body movements, okay? I see someone in the chat saying, is it kind of like silent comedy? This is a great question because slapstick comedy became very popular in silent films. Before there was sound and you had to read the dialogue in the films, one of the ways you could make sure the humor translated was with wild, big motions, so people would still laugh. So classic examples of slapstick comedy are Charlie Chaplin, The Three Stooges, Jackie Chan, Jim Carrey, Mr. Bean, and there's more. I am going to show you now. We have a little clip, and I hope it works with our, while we stay connected and while we are on the call. It's the first time we're trying to play video, so stay with me here. Oh wait, it just reshared the same thing. Don't do that. Zoom, don't do this to me. We're switching. Do you guys see something called Charlie Chaplin Shorts? It's a YouTube video that I want to play. Awesome. Okay, I hope the sound comes through, but even if it doesn't come through, it's actually okay, because part of slapstick comedy is you do not need sound. I saw someone say, is slapstick comedy always silent? Not necessarily, but the body language is the humor. It's not the sound. Okay, so I'm gonna play it and I hope that it comes through. Okay, I think that's good enough. I think you guys get a little bit the feeling. So it's, and I froze on the perfect image. So this is Charlie Chaplin. And you can see it's very exaggerated. It's very funny. In these types of videos without the dialogue, it almost feels like a ballet to me. You know, it's very, very choreographed, and you have an exaggeration of physicality. Okay, let's go back to the slides. I saw someone else write, it's like Tom and Jerry, a little bit. I mean, when we talk about slapstick comedy, we're not talking about animation. But I see the similarities 100%. Okay, that was enough about slapstick, which yes, is very old, but some people use it still. We sometimes see slapstick as kind of an old-fashioned humor, or the humor that our grandparents like, or sometimes really kind of politically correct, nice humor. Like people aren't as offended because it's just someone bumbling around and being goofy. Okay. Next, we have witty humor. So witty humor is about being intelligent. It's not always, oh wait, are you guys seeing the right screen? I think it's sharing. You guys can see witty humor? We do, okay, thank you. my technology skills are not great right in this evening. Okay, witty humor. So witty humor is not always hilarious. It's not the kind of humor that maybe you spit out of your mouth because you're shocked at how funny it is, but it's very intelligent humor. As a non-native speaker, this is the hardest humor to detect because it is often playing on words. So witty humor uses sarcasm, it uses irony, it uses satire, and it uses parody. I believe we're going to go into what all of these are right now, because I know you're going to ask me, what are all of these things? So we'll start with the first one, sarcasm. Sarcasm, I saw you guys sharing at the very beginning, so I'm happy to see some of you already know about sarcasm. Sarcasm is using words that mean the opposite of what you want to say. We're often using sarcasm when we want to mock somebody. Sometimes sarcasm can be very unkind. It can also show when you're irritated with someone, but at times it's also very funny. So sarcasm has to be used carefully. It can be very serious and critical, but it can also be hilarious, or all of those things at one moment. So here's an example. Something bad happens. So maybe someone comes to me and says, you know, the building, so I run a school, they come to me and they say, there's a leak or there's something wrong with the building. And I respond, perfect, that's just what I needed. Okay, it's the exact opposite. The exact opposite of the situation is that it's what I needed. No one needs a leak in the building. What I need is a functioning building. Okay, this one is not very insulting, but it's showing my irritation. Okay, something bad has happened and I respond saying that it was good. That's an example of being sarcastic. Okay, do you guys have another example? I wonder if someone else can share something with sarcasm. Maybe you guys have a better example. Amel is saying, I don't quite understand. Do you guys have an example of sarcasm? Give me a scenario and someone's response to it. Usually we think about it with something that we don't like or something that's very irritating. Maybe Fadzia is pointing out Friends is full of sarcastic scenes. Islam is saying that an example is using the word excellent whenever you have an unpleasant situation. So again, the leak is coming from the ceiling, it lands, or someone pours water on my head and I go, excellent. Okay. Someone says, that went well. That's true. That went well. The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon doesn't get sarcasm. Sarcasm that happens a lot in TikToks. Yeah. Abdur Rahim has kind of a sad example. He says, one of your kids gets an F grade, which is a failing grade, and you tell him, you're the smartest kid in the planet. That's an example of using sarcasm a little bit to insult someone. Okay, all right, you guys, thank you. Someone said, Algeria has the fastest internet in the world is an example of sarcasm. Okay, this is true. Something that you're saying is not true or is perhaps the opposite. All right, very good, you guys. Next up is, oopsies, irony. So irony, when a person or a situation does something that contradicts what we expect of them or what we expect of the situation. So a police station gets robbed. It's ironic because they are supposed to catch the robbers. You go, how ironic. The police station got robbed. Then we have satire. Satire is a humorous way to criticize people or ideas. Satire makes someone or something look ridiculous in order to mock, embarrass, humble, or discredit them. Okay? So these are examples of people that use satire. The Daily Show, The Simpsons, Saturday Night Live, they do entire, what we call sketches, a comedic sketch, designed to make fun of something real. So on Saturday Night Live, there was an ongoing sketch where we had Alec Baldwin pretending to be Donald Trump. And he would put a wig on and he would kind of imitate his face and he would put on an accent. That is satire. He's completely mocking a real situation. I think you guys often have the same. We do see a lot of satire in the political realm. People often like to mock politicians or celebrities. And then we have parody. So parody is an exaggerated imitation of something produced for a comedy, for a comedic effect. So this is like the movie Scary Movie. So as you can see with witty humor, a lot of these are a little bit hard to track when you're a non-native speaker, because not only are they very intelligent and sometimes playing with words or playing with situations, but a lot of them are culturally specific. So you need to know the context of the situation being mocked. You need to know Donald Trump to laugh at someone mocking Donald Trump. That's an easy one. He was president, but it gets more and more detailed. And sometimes you don't know the celebrity they're mocking, so you don't get the joke. So this is why witty humor can be one of the hardest humors to understand when you are a non-native speaker. Yes. Intisar is saying you need to know all of the background. Very good. All right, we're moving on. So we are moving on to wordplay. Wordplay is the exploitation of words in a humorous way where they become the main subject of the joke. So wordplay, the biggest thing about wordplay is puns. Puns are jokes that exploit the different meanings of a word or a word that sounds alike. Do you guys know any puns before I give examples? I would be very, very impressed if someone in here knows the puns. I see we have an active discussion in the chat all about rishta. You guys, I love rishta, but let's move it out of the chat. We're focusing on our English for humor. What are the puns? What are the puns? Hang on, Daisy. I'm not sure if I understand what the pun is there, Waleed. If you don't know what puns are, that's completely normal. That's what I'm here to teach you. But I thought maybe someone would know. That's what she said is not a pun. A pun is what we call a play on words. Okay, Yassine, I know you're participating, but you cannot swear in the chat. I'm just going to show you guys a pun. Okay? Oh, thank you, Nazir. What did the ram say to his wife? I love you. You is spelled E-W-E because that is what we call a female sheep. All right, that's exactly a pun. Thank you, Nadir. It is about playing on words. Okay, This is an example. Okay. And often we refer to people who use puns or jokes that use puns as dad jokes. Okay. And we tend to have a reaction where we don't laugh, but we go, oh, okay. Like that. Like, oh, I see what you did. Here's our example of a pun. Let's see if someone guesses this. What do you call a bee that can't make up its mind? I didn't guess this one. Does anyone know? A bee that can't make up its mind? Okay, I'm giving you the answer. A maybe. They're so bad. They're not that they're not that funny, but yet you still find yourself kind of laughing. You see, and it doesn't really make sense, except it does a little bit, and it's just enough to make you roll your eyes. Okay, I'm going to read some other puns because you guys started sending more of them. Okay, so somebody said, Asia sent us a pun. Why don't crabs give to charity? Because they are selfish. It's a play with the word shellfish, which is what we call that category of animal, and the adjective selfish, because you won't give. Okay. Minar has a very, very, what we call topical pun, meaning related to current day. Maybe our dads would not get this pun because it references Adele. But why did Adele cross the road? To say hello from the other side. This is funny. Good. I was hoping we would get some good jokes in here. Nadir comes back with another one. Okay, Nadir, I see that you and the puns. You are a pun man. Why does everyone hate stairs? Because they're always up to something. Get it? Like stairs? I see that someone sent the emoji of the woman going like this. That's exactly how you feel when someone sends a pun. You laugh, but you don't always want to laugh. You're like, come on. But then sometimes you're still laughing, and it makes the mood more fun as well. So we call these dad jokes because it's so often the types of jokes that you get from your dad. And especially when you're a teenager and your dad isn't cool and he's saying a dumb joke, you get really embarrassed. That's kind of the cultural context for calling it a dad joke. Oh, okay. I want to move on, but Rihan, I love this one. Can February March? No, but April, May. You guys are good. There's so many more. I can't even read through them all. Okay. So we're moving on now to the next one, which is something I use a lot. Self-deprecating humor. So we call this self-deprecating humor, or sometimes we'll use the noun simply self-deprecation. So to be self-deprecating is when you are making jokes about yourself. You are belittling yourself or undervaluing yourself or being just way too modest about yourself. Okay, this is something that we use a lot in the US. We make fun of ourselves, and that's considered very, very acceptable type of humor. But I have found that self-deprecating humor is cultural, and I find less of it in Algeria than I do in the US. So here's an example of self-deprecating humor. This is a tweet. The person tweeting, Jay Beaner, goes, "No more self-deprecating tweets," like she's talking to herself. And then she goes, "I whisper fatly." So she's referencing that she's fat or that she thinks she's fat or she thinks she's overweight. So the joke is she's telling herself, I won't be self-deprecating, at the same time that she is self-deprecating by talking about herself. Okay, this is just really, really common type of humor in certain cultures. All right, and it's so much more common in the US. Somebody said Ali Wong has this type of humor. Definitely. American comedians love self-deprecation. So I would say almost all of them do it, but some more than others. Ali Wong does it, Amy Schumer does it, John Mulaney does it. It's just making fun of yourself. You point out something crazy and you make other people laugh. Okay, and the last one is it the last one? Oh no, okay, we have a few more. The next one we have is observational humor. So this is a type of comedy used by comedians who make remarks or observations about everyday life, and they just make it hilarious. It's just a normal situation, but the way they deliver it or the way they talk about it has you rolling with laughter. We have an example, and then I'm going to play a little video, which I don't know if you'll be able to hear the sound. I hope. Okay, so an example of observational humor is, here's the quote. So you have to imagine someone's doing stand-up comedy and they go, "Why is it that during an icebreaker, when the whole room has to go around and say their name and say where they're from, I get so incredibly nervous? Like, I know my name, I know where I'm from. This shouldn't be a problem." And it just, I tried to give you my real sort of comedian delivery, but it's something funny that we relate to. Like, yeah, why do I get nervous when it's time to share my name? This is totally true. And it has you laughing and it has you thinking, and it kind of points out funny situations in life that you hadn't thought about before. So we have a video, which is John Mulaney. And I'm going to try something different. I'm going to share the video and I'm going to take out my AirPods because maybe that's why you couldn't hear the last one. So just bear with me. And I think, okay, let me take these out. The audio is going to shift. Okay.
Sometimes when people order fries, they act like it's a little adventure. They'll be like, "Should we get a plate of fries for the table? Should we do it? Should we share some fries?" They got to make sure that everyone's on board with it. It's like, if I get fries, you'll have a couple, right? If I get fries for the table, I know you'll have fries if I get fries. Should we do it? Yeah, let's be bad. Come on, let's do it. All right, we're going to take a plate of fries. It's like a group of couples agreeing to do ecstasy together. Sometimes when people order fries.
Okay, good. I'm glad that worked. You can hear it. All right, I'm plugging in my computer. My night of technological skills continues. Did you notice? I used two kinds of humor. That was sarcasm, because I've had some tech issues, and it was self-deprecation, because I'm making fun of myself. Headphones back in the types of comedy. Share. Okay, can you guys see the presentation again? Are we back? Observational humor? Back to the presentation, cool. So I'm very happy to see Ines's reaction saying, "Thanks for talking about observational humor. I don't understand it all the time. This is completely normal. You guys are all learning English as a second or sometimes third or sometimes fourth language, okay? So I think that is completely normal, that different types of humor are harder or easier for you. I'm actually going to take these out, you guys. I think the other sound is better. Is it too far? Hello, hello. Please put them back. Oh, everyone says it's better, it's worse. If it's better, if it's worse, they can't hear. It's too far. It's better now. Okay, I'm putting them back in, I think. All right, you know what? We're just going to go without them. We're going to go without them, and we're just going to risk it. Okay, so I saw something here saying, maybe I don't understand because every country has its own sense of humor. The answer to that is yes, every country has different humor. So this class tonight, you're not just learning vocabulary about humor or vocabulary for, different performances. It's also cultural. So observational humor, that might be cultural. Self-deprecating humor. I have noticed, I'm an example of this, that when I make fun of myself in Algeria, people often, worry. They want to reassure, oh no, Ariella, your tech skills are okay. You're doing good. The class is going well. And I go, no, I'm just joking. I know it's only been a few little things. Like, this is just how we joke in the US. It's really common, it's really casual, and it doesn't show like a low self-esteem. But I think sometimes in Algeria, that kind of humor, it's just not as funny as perhaps dark humor, which we're about to move to. I do think that Algerians love dark humor. So dark humor, which also is known as black humor. This is a type of comedy that makes light of subjects that are considered taboo, serious, or painful. So to make light of something means it does not take it seriously. So dark humor often shocks us because it takes a very serious, very dark, very intense subject and treats it not seriously. So for this reason, you need to be very careful because this kind of comedy could be offensive to certain people. I think Algerians have a very dark sense of humor, so you probably know this. Certain jokes you don't make in front of grandma or you don't make in front of your parents, not because they're inappropriate in terms of content, but because they're too dark, they're too heavy. Okay, so here's our dark humor, which we tried to find one that wasn't like too dark, but here's an example. Where do you find a dog with no legs? This one, I have to say, it took me a while to understand. Does anyone want to try to guess it, or should I just show you the answer? Someone said in a restaurant. Okay, Abdurrahim, that's very funny. So Abdurrahim is suggesting that we're eating the dog. Okay, someone else is saying in China. Okay, that's kind of a little more political about the treatment of dogs in certain countries. Okay. In my dreams, okay, kind of a supernatural. All right, here it is. The answer is right where you left it. Yes, Intisar just got it. The same place they left him. Do you get it? The joke is the dog can't move, so it hasn't gone anywhere. When I first read the joke, I didn't understand it at all. I forget what I said, but I said something like, "Did they take the legs off?" But the joke is that it can't go anywhere. So what do you mean? Where do you find it? You find it where you put it. So we have a PS. No dogs were harmed in the making of this lesson. All right. So the reason this is dark is because it sort of is touching on animal abuse or like hurting an animal, or, it's not super explicit, but it's sad. It's a very sad imagery. All right, you guys, give me another example about dark humor. I want to see if you have dark humor. Oh my God, someone had oh my gosh, this is Amira. This is very dark. Okay, you guys, here's a good example of dark humor that could really offend people. So you need to be careful who you tell it to. So I'm going to share what Amira wrote because it's a great example of dark humor. But if you are offended, I do apologize, especially if this is a sensitive topic. Okay, that's my disclaimer. Amira said, what's the best way to remove chewing gum from hair? Like you have chewing gum in your hair. And the answer is cancer. You get it because when you have cancer treatment, all your hair falls out. This is a very good example of dark humor. It is dark.
And it takes something we don't joke about, which is cancer, and makes it something that you find yourself laughing, and then you're like, oh, I didn't mean to laugh. Okay. Rehan said, what's the quickest way to the hospital? The answer, stand in the middle of a busy road. So the joke is the quickest way to the hospital is to get hit by a car, and then you'll be taken directly to the hospital. Dark humor. Inez is asking, does dark humor need to have a meaning behind it? It doesn't need to have an emotional meaning, but it needs to be a logical joke. It's still a joke. You are joking. But the reason we call it dark humor is the topic. The topic is something taboo. We don't joke about being hit by cars. We don't joke about cancer. We don't joke about abusing animals, except when we do. Okay, that's dark humor. It's taking a topic that usually you don't joke about and making it funny. A lot of people develop dark humor when they're having a hard time in life. Something that you can find a lot about online is videos of people making jokes about their own trauma. They'll say something like, you know, how do you know you've been traumatized? And they do like a little thing about like knocking on the door, you know, gives you your best workout because you jump out of bed. Okay, they're mocking a really serious bad situation, but sometimes it's funny. Okay. So I think you guys understand dark humor. I'm seeing some very kind of dark jokes. I think I shared the cancer joke that was dark enough for me. I still feel very shocked by it, but it was just a great example of that taboo topic. If you've ever watched a documentary about someone who is, has a terminal illness or who is dying, or someone on TikTok with a terminal illness, a lot of times they develop a very dark humor as a type of therapy, which is what Intisar pointed out, that laughing at some of the worst things can make it a little bit lighter. Yeah, as Kareem, as someone's saying here, it's a coping mechanism. Okay, tell me, now you have learned all the different types of humor. I want to hear from you. Okay, I want you to come in on the microphone and tell me which type of humor is your favorite. And if you want to, if you're feeling up to it, you can tell us a joke. Okay, you can tell me dark humor, observational humor, self-deprecating humor, wordplay, witty humor. I'm just reviewing so you remember what we had, and slapstick. For witty humor, we had the 4 types: sarcasm, irony, satire, and parody. And for wordplay, we have puns and dad jokes. I also saw Amira saying that you feel bad about your dark joke. Don't feel bad. I feel very nervous sharing on something where I don't always know the culture. So I don't know if it's too dark for me, if it's too dark for you, but it did make me laugh. That's why I shared it. And it was a great example. Okay, you guys, who wants to come and talk? If you want to come talk on microphone, you need to click the raise hand button. It looks like a little emoji hand. Come on and tell us about your type of, which type of humor is your favorite. And if you want, you can do a joke. You do not have to do a joke. Let's try Yassine. Rastam is saying.
Hi, everyone.
Oops.
Okay, thanks for having me here.
Hi, Yassine. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Just so my favorite type of humor is the dark humor. Even though I rarely use it, I enjoy listening to it. Even though I use mostly sarcasm and self-deprecating humor with my friends. Okay,
very cool. So you also use self-deprecating humor.
Yes, it's very common among younger people. They're using it very often.
Interesting.
So we don't realizing it. So when we pick up, we have like a bad habit, or we make fun of it.
Okay. Okay, nice.
I also have a joke if I can.
Good. Yes. Tell us your joke.
Okay. So it's about a gamer who plays games his whole life since he was young until his late life. So when he died, they put on his grave, "Game over."
Oh, that's like
It's a,
it's sad, but I don't know. I also find it kind of sweet. Like he's a
Yes.
gamer, it's a recognition of his passion in life.
yes. So
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yassine. Thank you for
welcome.
sharing.
Bye,
All
everyone.
right, cool. Bye-bye. Let's bring in the next. Who has a good connection? Oh my gosh, I see so many hands are up. Amazing. Nadir, do you have a good connection? Can you hear us?
Hello, do you hear me?
Hello, how are you?
How fine you?
Doing good. Tell us, Nadir, what is your favorite type of humor?
I do love sarcasm, but I really like the dark humor, but not the dark humor that is offend people. Just the dark humor that everyone can laugh at it.
Okay. Okay,
Yes,
very
like
nice.
I do have one. My grandmother said that I'm too dependent on technology. I called her a hypocrite and disconnected her life support.
Oh my God. Okay, I like this. Yeah, this is good. Dark humor. You called her a hypocrite and you disconnected her from life support. Okay, thank you, Nadir. You're proving my point that Algerians really like dark humor.
Yes, really. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See you, Nadir.
See you.
Okay, let's have a few more. Who wants to go? Amina, come on up. You are on stage.
Yes, hello everyone.
Hi, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
We're doing good. So tell us, what are your favorite types of humor?
So my favorite type of humor is wordplay because I like playing with words and being funny. But in fact, I don't have any joke right now. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you about my favorite humor.
Absolutely. Do you feel like you can do wordplay in English as a foreign language? Like, is it something you do yet, or is it something maybe in the future?
It's something maybe in the future because I still struggle with vocabulary and stuff, but I can recall like when someone tells me about a joke with wordplay in English, maybe I can recall it and tell it so many times, but I can't make my own joke with wordplay.
Okay, that's a really good point, that there's almost two levels, like understanding wordplay and then being able to spontaneously do wordplay are two different levels. Yeah,
so I can understand it, but I cannot make a joke with a wordplay.
Okay, very cool. Well, thank you, Amina. Thank you for coming up.
Okay, thank you too.
Okay, let's see. How about one more? Who is dying to go? What about Jassim?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. What about you?
Doing good.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, we're happy to have you here as well. Tell us, what are your favorite types of humor?
Actually, I don't have a specific type of humor, but I love those TV shows which are so funny, especially in French. I like them, but I don't like to laugh at people. I may hurt them.
Okay. Sometimes, do you think the jokes in Friends are a little too mean, or do you like?
Yes, for me personally, sometimes when I hear them, I feel like upset from those jokes. So I don't like to hurt people.
Yeah, I understand that. It's something that oftentimes, to make the joke funny, you kind of hurt someone's feelings. And I know some people who say, that's never worth it for me. That's not the kind of jokes I make. Other people say, let's go for the joke. You should toughen up your skin, this kind of thing.
Yes. Okay. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow, you guys had really different types of contributions, and I liked that. Different types of humor, different thoughts on humor. I mean, very interesting. I'm looking at the time. Maybe we can do one more. I always say one more, and then I do it a bunch. Let's see. How about Bilal? Bilal, are you here?
Yes, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Welcome.
Hey, Ariella, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. So today is my first time, and I really enjoyed being on this session. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So my favorite type of humor is black comedy, of course, and my favorite one is Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
I've been living in the US for 7 years, but I don't get their black humor at all.
Okay, so just to clarify, when you say black comedy, you mean black comedians comedy, like you're talking about black people. Okay, this is good. This is a different type of comedy, more not type, but a different way to categorize, not black humor, but black comedians.
Yeah, and I have a joke for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
So do you know the phrase one man's trash is another man's treasure?
Yes.
So that's how my friend found out that he was adopted.
Oh, that's so sad. You guys are the dark jokes. I knew it. Coming into tonight, I'm like, I think they're going to come at me with dark jokes. Yep, those are them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bilal. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, bye.
Oh my gosh, you Algerians. Sometimes you're very nice. And sometimes you're very dark. And I guess actually those things they don't contradict each other. All right, we're gonna keep going. But if we have time at the end, I'd love to have more of you guys jump in and share some more jokes because I told you to bring jokes. So I wanted to give you a moment to share those jokes. All right, now I think we're going into, okay, the first one is given away. That's okay. We are going into vocab. So with an ESP class, we talk about culture, we talk about some general categories, and then we always give you very, very specific vocabulary so that you know that this is the vocabulary that you will only experience in this part of English for humor. So we have here 7 words. The last one, stand up, already has the arrow. So we gave you one to start you off. I want you to take about 2 minutes. Read the words, read the definitions. Don't put the answers in the chat if you can help it, to help other people who are wanting to practice without getting the answer right away. Once the 2 minutes are up, I will come back and we will go through the definitions, okay? So let's say 2 minutes start now. And Ines, do not worry about the rest of conversation. I understand the urge to talk about amazing Algerian cuisine. Intisar is making a joke. He wrote, G is number 6 because you can obviously see that. We're going to go ahead and share with you guys the YouTube link just in 1 minute. You guys just keep the answers for yourselves. You can write them down if you want, if you have a pen or maybe on your phone, but we'll go over them as a group in a second. I appreciate you waiting until everyone has time to review. These might be completely new vocabulary words for you guys, so don't put yourself under pressure to get it perfect. It's just an exercise, and at the end of it, you'll have 7 new words. Okay. Maybe 20 more seconds, and then we will go through it. This is really the I think best part of an ESP class is these vocab words that you do not see in other areas of English. Okay. All right, let's start. A, punchline. Now I want you to type it in. What number is punchline? Just give me your best guess. It's okay if you're wrong. This is a learning space. It is an open space. Don't feel bad if you don't know what the answers are. That's completely okay. I see 2, I see 3, I see 4, but I see mostly 2. Anyone else want to submit an answer? Okay, so a punchline is number 2. It is the last part of a story or a joke. Okay, this is like the joke that we have about, honestly, all of our jokes. We had a question and then an answer. So the dad joke, when we said, what do you call a bee that can't make up its mind? And the answer was a maybe. So a maybe is the punchline. If you don't have the answer to the joke, if you don't have the punchline, there's no joke. It's not funny. Okay, so we call that the punchline, the line that punches you and you go, oh, ha, ha, ha. You know, but a real laugh, not a fake laugh. Okay, B, one-liner. One-liner. I have 5 and 3. 5 and 3 are in a sharp competition. Okay, now 3 is totally winning. I'm going to say we're about 80% of you are putting in 3. And it's 3. Good job to everyone. Even if you got it wrong, I'm just glad you're participating. So a one-liner is a very short joke or witty remark, but it is what it sounds like. It is considered one line. So if you think about a comedian, a lot of times they write what they'll say before they say it. They prepare. So on paper, that joke was just one line. It was so short, it was just one line. All right. I'm trying to think what's a one-liner. I want to say that's what she said is like a one-liner. It's a very short joke and that's it. You say that, that's the whole joke. Okay. Bit. And I have a bonus question. Give me the type of word. Is this a verb, an adjective, or a noun? Now we're going to make it very English classy. Is it a verb, an adjective, or a noun? I see noun, I see adjective, noun, noun, can be adjective, adjective, noun. Okay, so you guys, the ones who said noun, you are correct. We call this a bit, okay, a bit. But interestingly, this is not an adjective. But it is the past of to bite. So you can say the horse bit me, or I bit my tongue. You know, sometimes you accidentally bite your tongue. Ow, I bit my tongue. But in comedy, a bit, you're correct, it's number 1, is a noun. Okay, so bit is a brief comic performance or a joke. It's something short. What we just watched with John Mulaney when he talked about ordering French fries. Why is it that when people order French fries, they make it such a big deal? Oh, why can't we just order a plate of fries? He went on for maybe 45 seconds, and then he laughs and he changes the topic. We call this a bit. He did a French fry bit, okay? Fazia is explaining why people are saying it's an adjective, to be a bit complicated. Okay, I accept this, a bit complicated. So I guess we have noun, verb, and adjective here. But the one I was thinking specifically of was the verb. Yassine says, so a bit is longer than a one-liner. Yes, exactly. A bit is longer than a one-liner, but it's still short. It's very discreet. So it's a joke that has one theme that you start the bit. Why do people order French fries? Then you go on and you say, you know, they ask around, are you going to have some? Are you going to? Okay, he does it. And then he ends, just get the fries. That's the end of the bit. A very discreet joke. Okay, prop. D, prop. I have a lot of 4s. Does anyone want to fight? We've got 4, 5, and 7 left. Oh, some 5s coming into the table. 4, 4, 4. 4 or 7, 5. Okay, yalla. It's 4. So a prop is an object that you use in telling a story. If I sit here and I have my earphones, this is my prop. I'm telling you a joke while I hold my earphones. It's a physical object that I'm using. Okay, usually it wouldn't be earphones, but maybe you're on stage and you have a jacket that you put on and you swing it around. Okay, you can have a physical material with you on stage. I don't know if we would call a microphone a prop, because usually a prop is in addition to the microphone. So if you're a stand-up comedian, you have a microphone and you have a chair. Anything additional, like an additional object that's related to the joke, we would call this a prop. I'm ready to be challenged on this, but me personally, I wouldn't call a microphone a prop. Set. Set. We have 7 and 5, and I hear people telling me both 7 and 5. So let's see. A set is a stand-up comedy show of any length. Okay, this is specific terminology for comedy shows. It's an example of why English is hard, because in a different context, a set means something totally different. But tonight, we're just talking about humor. In humor, you call a set a performance. So if we imagine Dave Chappelle, that Bilal loves, if you guys know Dave Chappelle, the comedian, he has a performance in Miami. He goes on stage and he does comedy. He tells jokes for 1 hour and then he leaves the stage. That entire hour is his set. It's a very specific term we only use with stand-up comedians and actually also with musicians. We call it playing or doing a set. Okay? Does that make sense? You guys, I'm going to make you all either stand-up comedians or big fans of stand-up comedians after this. And then lastly, a setup. Of course, it has to be 5. So a setup is the first part of a joke that leads to the funny part. It's like the introduction. You get a setup a lot when you're doing observational humor, because usually they start the joke saying, so I was walking the other day, I was walking downtown and I was really hungry. I hadn't had lunch. So I go into a cafe and then they begin the joke. So the setup was him describing the scene and describing the introduction before the joke comes. So usually it's also a little bit closer to the joke, but I didn't have a good example. So this one will have to work. All right, you guys, that was everything we had for humor vocabulary. I hope you learned some new terms. I hope you use these terms. If you do, please let me know. You can share on Instagram if you're becoming a stand-up comedian or you're using your new vocabulary. I would love to see that. We have about 15 minutes left, so we're going to move forward. We have a few more vocab and other points for you. This one, it says we're going to do on mic, but because we have 15 minutes, I just want answers in the chat, please. The question is, what do we mean by politically correct? Another term for politically correct is the acronym PC. Okay, this is something that's very relevant to humor because there's often a discussion around should jokes be politically correct or not. So Yassine is saying politically correct means a joke that won't offend anybody. Intisar won't offend anybody. Fadia is giving an example, saying people with special needs instead of handicapped people. Okay, like changing terminology in a way to try not to offend people, or as Waleed put it, to not upset people. Okay? So this is the definition or the usage of politically correct, the purpose of it. Being politically correct means avoiding language that could be offensive to any group of people. Often it means that dark humor is off the table. A lot of dark humor is not politically correct because it can be very, very offensive, but not entirely. I mean, the joke that, oh gosh, was it Nadir or Bilal? The joke about unplugging your grandma's life support, that is politically correct because it doesn't offend anyone. Maybe it offends the grandmas of the world, but I don't think so. But jokes that specifically offend, especially a group of people based on their race, or that are offensive just to one gender, that are, you know, making fun of just men or making fun of just women or making fun of religion. These types of jokes are really, I want to say sensitive. You need to be sure that if you're being not politically correct, you understand who you're speaking to, and you should avoid unpolitically correct jokes when you're in a professional environment. Okay, this is really the big point here, is that when you're trying to be funny in English, avoid anything that will offend a certain group of people, whether it is race, whether it is religion, whether it is gender, whether it is ability. Someone brought up the example of handicapped earlier. When you're in a professional setting or in a foreign language, when you're just not so sure about the humor, stick with politically correct jokes. Maybe forever, but those of you who want to venture into other territory, at least stick with politically correct in the beginning. Okay. All right, now I want to talk about influential comedians to give you guys some good ideas of comedians who you should watch. We have a mix of very well-known, famous kind of comedians that our parents watched, and then some more recent ones. So please tell us, and again, we'll just do it writing because we're running out of time. Who are your favorite comedians? I see Jerry Seinfeld, Dave Chappelle. Someone just wrote Bean. Someone wrote me. Okay, I'm very flattered. Bill Burr, so good. Mr. Bean, yes, I was in the middle of saying Bean is for Mr. Bean. Jim Carrey, Ali Wong. Someone wrote Khaled. Yes, Khaled had some very funny skits. Kevin Hart. Daniel Sloss, I don't know. Steve Harvey. I don't think Steve Harvey's a comedian. He has his talk show. Similar to how technically I'm not a comedian either. So when we talk about comedian, we don't just mean funny people. We mean people who do comedy as a profession. So that's a good distinction to make. A comedian is someone who works in comedy, not just someone who's funny in general. So me, Khaled, Steve Harvey, not comedians. Bill Burr, Mr. Bean, Jerry Seinfeld, Dave Chappelle, exactly. Okay, who's this? Do you guys know? Jerry Seinfeld. Have any of you guys watched his show, Seinfeld? He's a very funny guy. Yay! Okay. Who's this? Very good. Amina and Lydia. Robin Williams. Robin Williams, unfortunately, passed away a few years ago, but I loved his comedy growing up. I don't know if anyone saw Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know if I'm the oldest one here, but if you haven't seen it, it's so funny. Robin Williams. Oh, and Dead Poet Society, Fadia. Yes, also a great Robin Williams movie. Who's this? Eddie Murphy. Nadir coming in, knowing all of the comedians. Eddie Murphy. Who knows a movie, an Eddie Murphy movie? He exclusively does comedies, so he's a professional comedian. He also does stand-up. Coming to America. Is this a movie? That one with Jackie Chan. I like him. I don't know his names, the names of the movies. Maybe we'll have to email out some good comedy movie recommendations after this. Dr. Doolittle, okay. Thank you, Rush Hour. That one with Jackie Chan, Rush Hour. Who's this one? Jim Carrey. Do we have any Jim Carrey fans? Very popular. Sometimes his comedy for me is a little too like slapsticky, like very physical and big. And I just, you know, when he goes into his crazy faces that he makes. And for me, it's a little too much. I like a more of an intellectual, witty comedy, and his slapstick can overwhelm me. But sometimes, yeah, like in The Mask, for example, but sometimes I still really like him. And then where's Bilal? Who's this? Dave Chappelle. There we go. These are the classics. I'm also noticing that we didn't include women here, which I did not notice before, but there are some funny women, and maybe we'll have to send these out. And we have one more recent. This is one of my favorite more recent comedians. Who is this? Do you guys know? Noah. What's his first name? Trevor. Someone said Noah, someone said Trevor. This is Trevor Noah. So Trevor Noah runs the Daily Show, TV show, and he is hilarious. There's a skit of his that he does that's actually kind of about English because he's South African and there's some different vocabulary words, but I absolutely love him. I know, Intisar, no gender equality. Honestly, you guys, I didn't notice before that we didn't have women in here. Next time, we'll have only women. I mean, we'll see. Okay. For women, for those who love women comedians like myself, my favorite two are Ali Wong and Amy Schumer. Oh, and Tina Fey. I don't know if anyone loves Tina Fey. Okay, now we're gonna do idioms. That's the last thing we're doing, and then we are ending class for today. These are phrases in English that don't mean the literal definition. So that's an idiom. An idiom is something that the meaning of the phrase is different from the literal meaning. An example, here we have the expression to tickle someone's funny bone. It's a little bit old-fashioned, but we do still use this. To tickle someone's funny bone means to make someone laugh. So the literal definition is something with tickling, like physical tickling. That's the literal definition. To tickle is to use your fingers. You know, we do this, we go to little kids on their neck, we go, and they go, ah, or we do it on the stomach. That's tickling. That's the literal definition, except of course, funny bone doesn't exist. So you can't go so far with the literal. But the idiom, the actual meaning of this is to make someone laugh. Okay? Next. This is what we call an expression. It's not an idiom, but it is an expression that we use. And we call it a poker face. Does anyone, this one I think maybe you've heard of because they use this a lot in movies. Yes, Nasima says a serious face. Anyone else have a different definition? Rehan says stone face. Yeah, cool. So this is a face that shows no emotions. And the reason we say poker face is because when you're playing poker and you have your cards, you never want your face to show if you have good cards or bad cards. So no matter what you get, you look at them like this. This is my poker face. When someone shows their emotions on their face, we say they have no poker face, whether or not you're actually playing poker. I don't know if you will be surprised by this, but I have zero poker face. I wear my emotions on my face very obviously. Okay, laughing stock, a laughing stock. I'm just going to show you the answer because we're running out of time. This is someone who's made fun of because of a mistake. So we'll say that, you know, they made a laughing stock of themselves. Someone does something really embarrassing. Maybe they were walking with a bunch of food and they fell and the food fell all over them and everybody saw. And it's, oh, they made a laughing stock of themselves because that's it. They did something embarrassing that people are laughing at. So it's not nice. A laughing stock is not nice. You're not laughing with the person. You are laughing at the person, okay? Intisar is saying, I can read you like an open book is the opposite of poker face. A little bit, yeah. To read someone is to understand on their face their emotions. So yeah, if you're an open book, you're opposite poker face. I think that's true. Also, Yassine pointed out that we do have something we call the funny bone, which Yassine, I'm surprised you knew. I wasn't planning on mentioning it, but this little bone on the elbow, we call this the funny bone. Sometimes you hit it the wrong way and it shocks you. It sends like nerves up your arm and you're holding it. We call this the funny bone. I don't know if tickling someone's funny bone is related to the actual little part of your elbow, but maybe it is. Okay. Oh, Amira says reading a French word in front of the whole class makes you maybe a laughing stock. That's so sad. Yeah, if you feel like doing something, they're all going to make fun of you. It's a very sad experience. When we look back at elementary school, these moments that we feel sort of traumatized when everyone made fun of us, those are the laughing stock ones. Okay, then we have the joke is on someone. Usually we say the joke is on you or the joke is on him. So this is when someone tries to embarrass someone else but ends up embarrassing themselves. So somebody, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, maybe with the French word. So in Amira's example, someone's at the front of the class and mispronounces a French word. Maybe someone in the class says back to them like, you know, you sound terrible, that was awful. But when they said it, maybe they misused French as well. So the joke's on him because he also made a mistake and then everyone laughs. It's a kind of a way of saying the joke has turned around. Jalil says it's like the reverse Uno card. Yeah, we often use this phrase when we're reflecting back on a situation. So we'll say, you know, my boss asked me to work really early and I didn't want to come in early, but the joke is on her because you know, it's really, there's nothing to do in the morning. So we're wasting all the time. It's a bad business decision. So she thought I would hate it. It turns out she's going to hate it. So we use this a lot when we're reflecting on a situation. Okay, everyone, that's everything we have. That's all, folks. I have my old cartoon telling us goodbye. See you next week for English for Cooking. I hope you guys enjoyed this. For me, it was one of my favorite ones to teach. I hope that you learned some new words, some new vocabulary. I hope you feel inspired to go watch stand-up comedy. I know I'm going to go watch some stand-up comedy right now. Next week is English for cooking. So everyone talking about reshta, next week, that will be relevant in the chat. So that would be a great thing to bring to the conversation. We'll be talking about measurements. We'll be talking about recipes. We'll be exchanging notes on cooking. And we took a very fun photo of maybe me doing some traditional cooking to help promote the class. So you'll see that too. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your evenings. And I hope to see you all next week, inshallah. Goodbye, everybody.